And that's enough of that. Hey, what's up guys? My name's Ethan, and welcome back to another video. If you're wondering what all that was about, basically I made a promise that if we hit top 20 for the monthly awards on Manga Plus Creators, I'd drop an anatomy video. So yeah, here it is. So yeah, thank you guys so much for your support on Chapter 1 of Warriors. It did way better than I thought it was going to do, to be honest. Like, that's insane. Top 20? Top 20? First ever chapter? That's crazy. So yeah, thank you guys so much for that. That's still insane to me. I think it's almost at 10k views recording this, so I'll probably post something when it hits that. But seriously, thank you guys so much. I'm so happy you guys enjoy it. Alright, now to the actual video. So to start this off, we're actually going to be making a guideline. If you don't know what a guideline is, I have a whole nother video explaining all that, how to draw them. Basically, it's like the blueprint before you get into like doing all the details and all that. That's what we're going to do first. So we're going to start off with a simple oval, then a line going down for where the neck should end and start from the head, and a horizontal line for the collarbone. Next, we're going to do 2 circles for the shoulder joints, and probably going to add 2 more lines to the bottom of that oval. Usually I don't do that, but I'll do it for this video because why not? And the next part goes a little fast, but pretty much I'm just making the chest outline, very basic shape for the chest. So right now we're just making the basic shapes of everything. So this is the basic shape of the chest, like I said. And then we're also going to make that middle line to indicate, you know, the middle of the body and where everything should end up being symmetrical. Right here, I'm just making where the face would have the middle point and all that. We're not going to be doing a face for this video, just a very basic thing like that. Just a cross section. I will draw the head outline later, but I'm not going to really go into that too much. I'll probably make another video on that. Right now, I'm doing the muscle part where the rib cage ends. Probably show a little thing right there. Basically, it's the bottom of the rib cage, that's where it would end, and then the abs, we're going to do 2 lines going slightly inward towards the bottom, just for the guidelines. You don't want to make these completely vertical and straight, you want to make them go a little bit inward. And then here is basically the outside of your rib cage, or the side of your body, which will come in right towards like where the rib cage would end, and then come right back out towards that bottom line, which is basically the end of our torso. That's what that bottom line is. And then here is the pelvis. You just kind of do like a little superhero comic type of underwear drawing. And the next is the leg, which is just a basic rectangle kind of. That's all we're going to do for this. And a little circle at the bottom indicating where the knee is. So all the circles are basically just the joints of the body. And then we're going to go to the calves, which come out a little bit to the sides, and then they go back down. And then the feet, which are like kind of like doorstops. Okay, this part's kind of important. So basically for the chest, you don't want it to end at the shoulder. You want it to go a little bit into the shoulder, because that's just how that works. And then we draw the arm with the elbows at the end. And usually the elbow ends where the rib cage would end. So I kind of fix that right here. And it should be right about there. Okay, sorry, so a little bit lower than the rib cage. And the forearms come out a little bit and then go back down inward, kind of like the calves, but not as extreme. Also, I'm doing like a very basic type of body. It's not like a super muscular bodybuilder or anything. Just like a basic one. There's a little trick I learned where basically your forearm is the same length as your upper arm. So it's a little trick to help you guys if, you know, not too sure how long to make the forearm or the upper arm. And then next is the triceps, which we do right there. Just 2 little triangles that connect the shoulders to the neck. And then I'm just fixing up a few things here and there. Also, the hands in this video aren't the greatest, so sorry about that. I didn't really realize that when I was drawing it. And there we go. That's your basic body guideline. Here I'm just going over it with the one eraser I have so I can show you guys the details better. I know you guys can't really see it right now, but I'm going to make it a lot more visible. So right now I'm just doing the outline of the head, which I'm not really going to talk too much about, because I will probably make another video on that sometime. And there we're just doing the neck muscles, and at the bottom of those neck muscles is like a little U shape for the middle of the collarbone, and where your neck connects to it. That's basically what that is. And from there, we're actually going to draw our collarbone, which will go up a little bit from that U point, and then down slightly towards the start of the shoulder. The next is going to be the outline of the neck, which will come down a little bit from kind of where your earlobe starts. Go out a little bit, and then it will kind of make like a hump, and then go to the end of where we drew that collarbone. A little bit farther than that. And here is just a little extra detail for the trapezoids. You don't have to add that, but you can if you want. Next, we're going to do the shoulders, which is a little line connecting the collarbone and trapezoids. And this is kind of like a weird almond shape, kind of. So you want it to go out and then come back in. And you want it to go on top of that original chest guideline. Kind of like that. You want it to curve inwards, not outwards. And there's the guideline we made already. And this is pretty important. So you don't start the chest at the armpit. You start it kind of halfway down the shoulder, because it just connects there. And then here we're just doing the outline of the chest. And for the middle, it's not just a straight line down, it's kind of like these 3 or 4 humps. I do 3 usually. That's just for the middle muscle. And then we're going to do the biceps next, which are actually probably the easiest part of this whole thing. Basically, you just go from the top of right there, in between the pectorals and the shoulder, and you just make a little oval. But at the bottom of the oval, you kind of make the lines go inward a bit, kind of like that. That's how it connects to your forearm. And then next is the brachii, which basically is just the farthest side of your arm, which goes around your arm, around the back of your arm, and the elbow comes off of that. And then we have the forearm next. You can add this muscle in, you don't have to. I think I add it back in later. But basically the forearm comes out a little bit and then goes back in, just like our guideline. Yeah, I erased that muscle right there. Basically, that's just a muscle that goes on your arm, but you don't have to show that always. And then at the bottom of the forearm, like a little outdent thing for the wrist. And then we're just going to finish up the hand. And again, the hands aren't super accurate, so try to ignore that. I didn't realize that when I was drawing it until I started editing this video. I'll also make another video on hands, most likely. I'll probably make like a whole series on the different parts of the body, because I do want to make a back, because this is only the front of the male torso. So I'll probably end up doing that sometime. Basically everything we did on the left side, we're just gonna copy to the right. Everything's the exact same step, so I'm just gonna do that real fast. And then next up is that part where the ribcage ends, which basically just comes out a little bit. It's a little wider than the abs, so keep that in mind. And then it'll just come up towards the middle, and there's gonna be like a little indent downwards to separate. And the middle line's going to be important. So just like the top of the thing we just drew, it's going to indent a little bit, and here's the abs, which are going to come a little bit inward, you know, not straight down. And we're just going to make a little line inward, and then the separation line. And there you go. That's how you draw the abs. I'm going to speed up the next few. And then the stomach is what we draw next. It's just this little thing. It should go right around there. And then next, we're actually going to go back up towards the top. And you don't want to do that, what I'm doing right now. You don't want to do that. Basically, you want to make it a smooth curve inward to where that guideline ends. And then you want to make it go back down. And then the details we do on that are a little weird, so I'll put up a little graph when we get to it. Not graph, but like a little visual. So basically that's what the outline should look like for the main body. Where basically it comes in and then comes out. Like kind of like an hourglass shape, a little bit. And I just add like the little bumps on the hips for the hip bone. You don't really have to do that, but that's just something I decided to do for this drawing. Okay, so the next part is the little details that go near the chest and biceps. Basically, what you do is 3 lines. I usually do 3, you can do more if you want. But it's 3 lines, and then from the middle of the first line you make another curve, and in the middle of that curve you make another curve. It's easier to just show it, it's a little hard to explain. But basically, the second row would be going to the second curve, and the second curve, the second row would be going to the third curve of the first row. It's a lot easier to just show you, so here it is. And it's basically the top half of the torso done. I just add in a few more details, and then we're going to move to the legs. And for the pelvis, it's just another U shape, but it doesn't fully connect with the hips. It just kind of does that. And there you go. That's pretty much the top half of the torso done. And then we're going to move on to the legs. The legs are a lot easier, but also not a lot easier at the same time. It's a little weird. Basically, the thigh is obviously going to curve outwards a little bit. Not too much, but you want like a slight curve to the thigh. And then next are the muscles of the thigh, which I haven't really ever done, because usually I don't really draw a lot of anatomy stuff, so I'm kind of making this video for you guys and for me, just for practice, which I'll probably make a whole series of doing, because I do need more practice with anatomy and all that, so it'll be helpful for both of us, hopefully. Basically, the outer thigh goes in towards the middle, and then kind of curves in. And there's 3 main muscles where it's kind of a big oval from the bottom of that curve and then all the way up towards where the pelvis ends. And it comes back down like that. And there's a 3rd muscle that just kind of separates that middle muscle and the inner muscle. And there you go. That's basically the one thigh done. And we're just going to repeat the same thing we did on the left one to the right. Which I'll speed up because why not? Next thing is the knee, which is basically just kind of a square or a rectangle that goes down a little bit. Just like that. Nothing not too big. Kind of like the median point between the two. And a line that goes a little inward and then comes back out. Next up is the calf, where it comes out just like the guideline. And then instead of like the sharp angle we have in the guideline, it's going to kind of smooth out. And I'll show that in a second here. So the outside of the calf will kind of come in. Mostly it curves inward, and the outside kind of just goes inward. And then you have the shin right here, which I make a little longer. And we kind of just have like a little curve outward for the ankle. And then, yeah, that's basically it for those. The last thing we have to do is the foot, which is pretty easy. That's not too difficult. I know the toes can be a little scary to draw, but they're not actually that bad. Usually what I do is I make a little triangle almost, and then the toe line, the bottom toe line, curve downward like that, because look at your foot isn't straight. Yeah, you got your big toe and then all the other toes. Yeah, so you don't want to have it be a straight line or a flat line. You want it to be curved out a little bit from one point. And basically just add lines for where the toes would end. And that's it, really. You basically have your foot there. On the bottom of the toes, they're not exactly circular. They're kind of like a upside down triangle a little bit. So yeah, keep that in mind. Then we're just gonna add some muscles in the foot. And then that's really it. We just repeat that on the other side with the other foot. There you go. There's your basic anatomy drawing. That's it with all the muscles and all the details. Again, the hands are not the greatest. I think I just add the forearm muscles back in, and that's really it. And there is something I wanted to talk about before I end this video, and it's actually a website. Not sponsored or anything. It's something I was actually commissioned for, and it's basically just a whole anatomy thing for artists, made by artists, for other artists to look at. And this one's mine. I did the torso, male torso, And I just labeled everything. I didn't really go into like muscle names in this video because there's so many of them, and I don't want to do that. Like how to draw a thing there. And the fun part about this is that anyone can make any page. All you gotta do is write a little summary, some stuff about the muscles, label the muscles, and that's really it. Also, if your page is picked, you can actually win money. It's like $10, and you can win once a month. You can submit every week, pretty much. So yeah, it's really cool. And it's ran by an art student, and yeah, it was a pretty cool experience working with them. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's called anatomyarchive.org. I'll probably have the link in the description for it. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!